Hi guys, Josh from Smith Boys Racing again. Day 683, working on the junior sidecar. So I just wanted to show you guys, just share a bit of information, just about getting the perfect notch. I see a lot of videos, fabrication series and that. They show you how to, but they don't really show you what to be aware of. So I've marked this up. I'll just elaborate on a couple of things I spoke about in a previous video. My method, machined faced in the lathe, just a little tube sleeve, just to mark really nice square lines on it. Using a vernier height gauge, 0.02 millimeters I can go to, so I can mark this tube. It's 1 inch tube. I can mark the centre line at 12.7, 12.68, whichever the case may be. First of all, I start clamp it down on the table with some clamping blocks. I find this very useful. I'll scrub my tube. Now if I've got a notch here, straight piece of tube this way, intersecting 90-degree tube, I find it very useful. I'll mark it, stand it up, square in a ruler on my scribe line, clamp it down again, keeping the tools on the table, clamp it down again, now with my scribe line at the top, and I'll scribe a new line on the other notch. This helps me index the tube in the notcher. I'm working with a 0.3 fine tipped test and tag pen, second to none. Just show you a few examples of the pens I've got here. The reason I choose this, I've got the test and tag pen, very fine line, laundry marker, Sharpie, paint pen. Not very accurate when you're trying to get precision work. So I've traced my centre line, I've marked around it. This will be my notch. So the rule is, with notch, rule of thumb, you can go 1/3 the tube diameter. I go half. Throw away a little bit of material, but just makes a really nice notch. It's really nice. Using the Notch Master JD Squared, you would think out of the box from reputable manufacturer that this would be spot on. It's not really the case. I found a couple issues with it straight out of the bat. Just want to make you guys aware of it. Just for anyone at home, wanting to do some fabrication work for the best results, this is what to look for. Square on the V block, the clamping V block. Square it up. What I've found on mine, the zero scale is actually off by nearly 1 degree, meaning you'd do a notch, you'd end up with an 89 degree notch. It's not an issue on big tube, but you've got to chase it with a file, ends up with gappy work. So another issue I found in setting this up, I marked the centre line of the V block. I did it more accurately than that. I used a ruler. I measured my height. It was about 62 millimeters. It's got a zero scale on the dovetail as well, and they've got this button head screw on the bottom. When I set it on the zero scale, I was actually 1 millimeter above the centre line. The way I worked that out, put a centre in my arbor, So I actually had to take the button head out, linear about 1 millimetre off it to actually get it lower. So once again, it's not really an issue if you're going small tube to big tube, but when you're going size on size, you want a nice flush. You want a nice flush finish. You don't want an offset notch where your tube will sit higher when you're size on size. When I'm ready to do my notch, I mark it out. That's where I'm going to line up my cut. Another reason I like the lines on the centre line, in this case I've had to lay the tube down. It doesn't really meet up with my centre. I lay the tube down. I've got another centre line on this beam here. And in this case, when I've laid it down, it's actually 5 millimetres off. So I've scribbled this line out. I mark the end of the tube. I measure down. I scribe my new line on this side. This allows me to roll the tube and index it if it's not quite 90 degrees. Once I've done that, load it into the notcher. This now allows me to measure. This will be the centre of my arbor or the centre of my hole saw. It allows me to roll the tube around. Get it spot on 62 millimetres. Check the back side. If I'm not happy, I'll split the difference. I'll get it within 0.5 millimetre. I've scribed a line on my new zero because the scale is off by about 1 degree. So once again, you wouldn't notice it so much on the small stuff, but if you go to a 2-inch diameter, especially with the marked line around here, you'll see that it doesn't quite meet up with your line on the back side of the tube. So that's the reason I do that. Once I'm happy with it, load up these pretty mint Lennox tungsten carbide ones. Another thing I found with the hole saws, once you've notched the tube, the back side of the hole saw will flatten off a little bit, where it doesn't actually cut, it breaks away. For that reason, you need to hand finish them with a semi-round file. Or, when you stand it up on the tube, this being 2-inch, if I stand it up on 1-inch tube, it will actually be on the piss a little bit. Then if you squared it up on your workpiece, you'd end up with the gap on the other side. So for that reason, always just finish off the back side with a semi-round file. And once you fit it up, it should just have a really nice perfect fit. No clearance, no daylight, no gaps, just to allow you to get full penetration in the root of your weld. So just to give you an example on some of them that I've already prepared. Just get perfect 90 degrees, as close to as 90 as you can. No gap at all in the workpiece, just no gap, full penetration, no filling gaps. Just another little cheater I'll show you here. I don't like to work with a tape measure so much. See a lot of guys, they'll be using a tape for the inside of a tube, like inside notching of the tube. You can square it off with a ruler. Being round, you will get a bit of cosine error. What I've made for this situation, just a bit of scrap stainless steel, notched it out 2-inch. I will use a ruler inside of it. And I can tell you now it's spot on 58 millimeters, plus the 99 for that because I'm not that good and I only got it 99, not 100. So once I get that, add these two together, I'll put on another 3 millimeters. just to make sure that I'm not going to go under between a tube like this. The reason I go 3mm, I can load it up in the notcher. I can line that up. I can blow that out on the, like notch that out on the line. I can put a mark on the back side of the guide here. If I fit it up, it's a couple of millimeters too long, I can put it back in. I can index these lines again. I can just take it out, load it back up, move it over 1mm here, realign it, redo my center line on the back side and cut it again. It's perfectly fixed. I can take off 1mm with this tooth just because it's so fixed and clamped. It's really good. So anyway guys, I'll crack on with this and yeah, hope you found it interesting. If you didn't, scroll on. You'll have a good day folks. See you later.